Welcome back. Let's do some more circle practice, see how we're doing with all these problems today. This is the Circles Quiz Review number 2, my friends. First one, one of the circle puzzles. All the circle puzzles are a little bit different. This one says AB is a diameter. Here's A, here's B. So these 2 points are the endpoints of a diameter. That's a big deal. So we know that all of this side adds up to 180. We know that the other side adds up to 180. It says E is a central angle. So that means that this is the center of the circle that we're working on. So with all that said, let's take a look at what we have. First thing is we work with what we have. So what do we know? We know the 22 and we know the 36. The 36 is outside the circle, exterior angle rules. So to solve for C, that would be the big arc, C minus 36 divided by 2 has to equal 22. C minus 36 equals 44. So C has to equal, what would that be, 70? That'd be 80. So 44 plus 36 equals 80. So C over here would have to be 80 degrees, keeping in mind that AB is a diameter and they said angle E is a central angle. That would mean this is also a diameter, right? If that's a central angle, that means that is the center of the circle. So if that's 80, then this part over here would have to be 100 because this entire half of the circle would have to be 180 degrees. We would know that this is 100, that this is 80, that this is 100. Nope. That this would be 80, this is 100. If you know one angle at a four-way stop, then you know all the angles at a four-way stop. And if that's a central angle, then we would know from here to here is 100 degrees. And because this portion is 36, then the rest of it over here would have to be 100 minus 36. So we know that over here we have 64 degrees left over. If that's 80, then F over here would have to be 80 as well. So we got F is going to be 80 degrees. And now we have all of the arcs. So there were a couple ways to get there, but recognizing that E was a central angle was critical. Once we know all the arcs, we can start doing a little bit of work on these angles. Really just pick an angle and see if you can get it. So like angle B opens up to 80. It's interior, so we care about the arc in front of it, 80. The arc behind it would be all of this. You got to follow it to the circle. So it's all of that. That would be 80 plus 36. So that'd be 116. So we have 80 plus 116 divided by 2. So 40 plus 58 would be 98. B would be 98 at that point. So that's 98. That means this is 98. That means that this is 82 and 82. D is going to be half of 80. That's an inscribed angle that opens up to 80, right? This arc, right? Follow the angle, follow the angle. Angle D is an inscribed angle that opens up to 80. So we can fill that out. 80 divided by 2 would be 40. And that's 40 and 82, 122. This is going to be 58 over here. What else do we need? Angle A, another inscribed angle. There's a couple ways to get it. One way is if this corner is 80 and this corner is 50, right? Doesn't that open up to this 100 over here? That's an inscribed angle. So 80 plus 50 is 130. So this would have to be another 50. You could have recognized that these two sides are both a radius, making that an isosceles triangle. That's another way. Or this 50 opens up to all of this, and all of that is 100. There's a lot of ways you could have got there, but A is 50. All right, we finished the first one. That's a hard one. Those puzzles can be really hard. What is the length of the tangent segment? Well, the rules for tangents and secants are outside times total equals outside times total. X plus 1 is the outside and the total, so x plus 1 has to be squared. Then the outside part is x minus 1. The total, pretend there's a plus there, would be 4x minus 4. So square this out. That's something we need to be good at. Make sure you understand why it's that. I'm going to show you right now, actually. So it's x plus 1 times x plus 1, but I won't show this again later. You got to know this stuff, guys. First times first gets me first. Last times last gets me last. There are two middles. Guys, the outside and the inside are both 1 times x. So it is x times 1 times 2. That's how you get that spot. That's only true when you're squaring numbers. So that's where my numbers come from. We have to know how to square values. Equals, the other side. I want you practicing this in your head as much as possible, but 4x squared. This would be minus 4 minus 4. That's minus 8x. And then finally, negative 1 times negative 4 is plus 4. So we could distribute. First step, make it combine like terms, and then make it equal to 0. So subtract 1x squared, subtract 2x, subtract 1. Boom. And then we factor it. How do we factor? You do a times c. 3 times 3 is 9. What factors of 9 add up to negative 10? That's going to be negative 9 and negative 1. These are the numbers we need to get through distribution. We make our parentheses. First times first has to equal first, and we have to get those numbers through distribution. That is a process you're going to have to practice. So x equals 1/3 or 3. Well, if I were to plug in 1/3, look at this. 1/3 minus 1 is no good. That is not going to cut it. So 3 is the only x value that works. And it says, what is the length of the tangent segment? 3 plus 1 is the tangent segment, 4. All right. Chord problems. The properties for chords is you do part 5x minus 5 times part x minus 2. When you multiply those, it has to be equal to part x plus 1 times part x plus 2. So part times part equals part times part. Then we distribute. Please do as much of this in your head as you can. Be minus 10 minus 5 for minus 15. And then we have plus 10 at the end. Over here we have x squared plus 2 plus 1 would be plus 3 and plus 2 at the end. Make it equal to 0. 4x squared, that'd be minus 18x plus 8. If possible, reduce. Divide by 2 would be 2x squared minus 9x plus 4. And now we factor just like we did before. 2 times 4 is 8. What factors of 8 add up to negative 9? Negative 8 and negative 1. We know it's 2x times x, so we have to get negative 8 and negative 1 from those numbers. So x equals 1/2 or 4. But if you plug in 1/2, what is 1/2 minus 2? It's negative. So 1/2 does not work. X equals 4 is the only answer that works here. Nice. Next one. This is one that, depending on the year, we haven't done quadratic formula this year. This is 2026 when I'm making this video. But some years we have. If we have time, maybe we will. But we were really low on time this year. But regardless, look at this answer. It's a quadratic formula problem. For the year 2026, there's no quadratic formula on the quiz or test. But it is outside 2x times total. Like there's a plus sign there. That'd be 5x plus 6. Equals outside 3x minus 4 times total, act like there's a plus there, that would be 4x minus 8. Then we start distributing. This would be 10x squared plus 12x equals, this would be 12x squared minus 24 minus 16 would be minus 40. And then plus 32 to end it. Make it equal to 0 would be 2x squared minus 52x, and then we have, plus 32 equals 0. Everything's even. We can divide by 2. That'd be x squared minus 26x plus 16 equals 0. What factors of 16 add up to 26? Those do not exist. So what are we forced to do? Quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. There we go. A sad boy couldn't decide if he was going to a party. He found a boy that was a square, and the 4 cool chicks, 4 awesome chicks wouldn't talk to him. I don't know. I don't remember the rule. There's a story. Miss Jane had an awesome story about this. All right. Start plugging in. So negative b would be 26 plus or minus. This would be 26 squared minus 4 times 1 times 16 all over 2 times 1. For my purposes right now, I'm just going to use a calculator to solve this. I'm going to type this in. Let's see what we got here. And I get 13 plus or minus the square root of, 3 root 17 all over, oh, not over anything, it's just that. So that's what I get, but could it be a negative, could it be the negative one? No, it couldn't. 13 minus 3 root 17. Root 17 is a little bit more than 4. So this is like 3 times 4 point something. So that's a little bit more than 12. Let me type that in real quick. So when you type it in, it's actually a positive 0.6. What would be 0.6 minus 4? It would break it. So the minus 1 doesn't work. So even though it's a positive answer, 0.6, when you type it in, it still doesn't work because 0.6 minus 4 is not good enough. But the plus 1 definitely works. That's like 25 point something when you type it in, and that's going to check out everywhere. Perfect. So this is the only one that works. All right. Rule for tangents. 2 tangents. They are equal to each other. So 4x squared plus 3x plus 1 equals negative 2x squared plus 2x plus 3. They are equal to each other. We make it equal to 0. You know what? I'm going to take a second to explain a big pitfall people have when they make it equal to 0. Is I'll see someone do... actually, this is not a good example. It's never on. But let's just make it equal to 0. Add 2x squared. Add x. And subtract 3. This one needs to be factored. Nothing reduces. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. What factors of negative 12? Subtract to equal 1, 4, and negative 3. So how do we make 4 and negative 3? It's going to have to come from 3x and 2x, right? It has to be 6 in the front. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. 2 times 2 is 4. So x equals negative 2/3 or 1/2. It's going to, both of them are going to work. No calculator on the quiz. I'm actually not going to make you check the answers on this specific question, just so you know. So it'll say you do not have to verify your answers on this one, just because that's a lot of work to type those in and figure that out. I bet you could kind of reason your way through it, right? Like this would be a positive, like you plug in a negative here, that would be positive. That would be negative, that would be positive. Do these positives outweigh that negative? Yes, they do. And then, of course, if you plug in a positive number, they're just all positive all the time. And you don't even have to check both of them because they're both equal. So if one of them's positive, they're both positive. All right, a circle has that center. So the general format of a circle is x minus h squared, y minus k squared equals r squared. So if this is the center of the circle and this is a point on the circle, we need to find that distance. So the radius is going to equal the square root of, how do we do distance? We do 2 to negative 1 is 3, we square it. 1 to 15 is 16, we square it. Nothing reduces, so that's going to be 9 plus 2, 56. Wait, I messed up. What is that? Sorry, this is 1 to 15 would be 14 squared. That'd be 9 plus 1, 96. And that's going to be 205. So the radius equals the square root of 205. Sorry. So when we plug this in, we're going to have x minus 2, y minus 1, right? Make sure you square it and add it and make it look like that. Equals r squared. Well, the square root of 205 squared is just 205. So that's what your answer is going to look like there. Boom, nailed it. Oh, I really enjoy these questions. So first step, we're finding, well, what are we doing? We're finding the intersection of a line and a circle. First thing we can do, the best thing we can do is take this and substitute it in for y. So we're going to have x plus 7 squared untouched. And we're going to have x plus 8 plus 1 when we plug that in. X plus 8 is what we're plugging in for y, and there's already a plus 1. So that's going to be x plus 9 squared. So first step is a y substitution. Second step, square binomials. That's going to be x squared plus 14x plus 49. You have to know how to square a binomial. That's going to be x squared plus 18x plus 81 equals 100. Second step, make it combine like terms and make it equal to 0. You can do it at the same time, or if you're a little bit unsure, you can do it one thing at a time. But we're going to combine like terms. That's what I'm going to do first. It'll be 81, 90, 130. Then make it equal to 0. From here, I've guaranteed you for these problems only that you can divide by the a value. So this a value is 2. I can divide everything by 2. If you get here and you cannot divide by the a value on these questions only, then you did something wrong. That is a guarantee. So what factors of 15 add up to 16? It's going to be plus 15 plus 1. What are the solutions? Negative 15, negative 1. But remember this, what do we have here? We know that y equals x plus 8. So we need to take the y value, we got to solve for the y value. Plug in negative 15, you get negative 7. Plug in negative 1, you get positive 7. So when x equals negative 15, y equals negative 7. And when x equals negative 1, y equals positive 7 when we plug it back into the line. A lot of good work there, my friends. An arch is 20 feet tall and 100 feet wide. 100 feet wide, 20 feet tall, so perpendicular, 20 feet. 100 feet divided by 2 would be 50 and 50. So what's the strategy here? We draw the rest of the circle. We know that has to be part of the diameter of the circle. We call the rest of it x. And we do chord rules. 20 times x equals 50 times 50. One of the zeros can cancel out. 50 divided by 2 would be 25. So x equals 125. So the diameter equals 145, right? 125 plus 20. So the diameter equals x plus 20, right? And so the radius would be half that. It says, what is the diameter? So we're done. Woo! That's super fun. And then finally, that was the last one. That was a good time. Good time. Thank you for working so hard, guys. I know we can do a good job with this. Good luck. Let me know if there's questions.